Here we go. Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HR Sound Off Live, our monthly live show that extends from the HR Sound Off podcast show, which is a weekly episode show. My name is Julie Turney, and I am your host. And I want to say it's a new year. Oh, my goodness. Despite all the challenges that we faced in 2021, we are here. And I am so happy and excited to kick off this monthly live session with one of my dearest friends, Perry Timms. But before I bring him on stage, I just want to make sure that you guys are checking in. Let us know where you're joining us from. And what are some of the thoughts that you have for the new year? What are you doing to rebuild, re-energize, reignite yourself as HR for the new year? Are you participating in the HR Wellbeing Summit, which is happening right now? Are you making a commitment to be a part of Engage 2020, which will be happening tomorrow, which is going to give you some great ideas as HR, how to stimulate your employees through employee well-being? Is well-being on your agenda for yourself, first and foremost, and the people that you're taking care of? Because all of these things are very important. So I really want you to take care of you. Thank you for joining me again. 2022, I am so excited. Could not believe that we are here already. I am going to bring Perry up and we're going to start our conversation. Hey, Perry. Hi, Perry. Can you hear me? I can see you. We'll just give Perry 1 second. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It happens all the time. But we're going to endure. I'm just going to, we'll keep it going until Perry's audio and video kick in. But I know that he's here and I know that he's excited to have this conversation with us today. We're talking about re-energizing HR first and foremost, and how do we re-energize the workplace? Because this is something that's very important to us. Over the last 2 years, we've had a really rough time. And I mean, we've had a rough time, period. But we've had an even harder time as we've tried to navigate through this pandemic called COVID-19, and which doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. So we've had to continue to figure it out, and also through our communities, get the support that we need in order to be able to figure out what happens next. And it's been great that we've been figuring it out together. But the reason why I invited Perry as a guest today is because he's doing a lot of amazing things at his company, which is Perry Timms HR, PTHR in the UK. And I think that it will be great to hear about some of those things that he's doing. He's also the author of 2 amazing books. And so I think it would be great to hear why he chose to write this last book on the re-energized workplace and a few for other things. So let's see. Perry, are you here? We see you. I think we may be having some challenges, but we're gonna get through this. Don't worry. It's the beginning of the year where it's the first show. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Just bear with us one moment. I'm sure we'll get it sorted.
Yeah. Oh, looks like
I can hear
look like
you.
I'm here, but I'm not sure what's happening because I can't see you, Judy.
You can't see me? Oh dear. Hold on.
I'm back.
Yay!
Whew. Network snag. Whoa. Took a long time.
I
Anyway.
know. Don't worry. We are here. Our audience is very patient. We figured it out.
That's all right.
So we're good to go.
Yep.
Yes. How are you doing, my friend?
Good.
Good?
I mean, 2021 was a big year. Record year for us. We expanded, we doubled in size, we went 100% up on work, and it was a real surprise, but a nice one. And 2022 has started with a very similar feel to it. So I can take from that we are not sitting on our hands in the world of work in HR. We are active, we are on it, and we are determined to do good, even in like really tricky circumstances. So yeah, in that respect, great.
Yes, wonderful. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you today, Perry, because you're doing such amazing things. I know you have lots of things to accredit to your name, your title, you know, for all the things that you are doing, the great things that you're doing at PTHR. And I thought this would be a great way to re-energize, reignite our HR colleagues today on this live to let them know there is hope. Great things are happening. The future of HR looks good. So to get started, I'm going to jump off screen and I'm going to give you a moment to introduce yourselves to our audience who may not know you. So who is Perry? How did you get here?
Oh, hey, thank you. Nice one. Thank you. So I am now in year 18 of my HR career. So I joined the HR profession in 2003. Prior to that, I used to work in technology projects and change. So I came to it from the sort of change angle, but with technology driving lots of different things in the world of work. But it was always the intriguing bit for me was not the build of the tech, it was the reaction of people. So I got involved in lots of training and lots of organization design before I even knew what that was. So the transition into HR was very much of that nature: change, performance, learning. So I did that in the corporate arena up until 2012. And then in 2012, that's when I started PTHR, or People in Transformational HR. And so we're in year 10 and there's now 16 of us. We work in a very unorthodox way. We operate a 4-day working week. So today isn't really a working day for us, but this is not work. This is more than work. We're a certified B Corporation. You can see it over behind me there. We're a living wage employer. We're climate positive. And we care about actually the nature of work being inclusive, energizing, and fulfilling. So the word we often use is we want to see people flourish, because when people flourish, the organization flourishes. And so our work is aimed at doing that, removing barriers, obstacles, toxicity, and the challenges of bureaucracy, and creating this agile, responsive, and very fulfilling way to express yourself in the work you do. So we get to work with some terrific clients in all sectors: public, private, non-profit, small, large, global, local. And all the time, what we're doing is we're liberating people from systems that don't work for them anymore and that suppress their energy and make them have frustrating experiences of work. And so that's me in a nutshell, and what got me here. I'm a proud member of, chartered member of CIPD, and a good friend of Judy's. There we go.
You are a good friend indeed. Thank you so much for giving us that information, sharing your story a bit with us. And I'm going to get right into it, Perry, because we've only got an hour and it always goes really fast.
Cool.
So you wrote this, you are the author of 2 books that I know of. one that I have an autograph for, and one that you have to sign the next time we meet. But we're here to talk about this book, which is The Energized Workplace, Designing Organizations Where People Flourish. What is it that inspired you about writing this book? Why did you decide to write this one? Can you hear me? Okay. Audience, can you hear me? Just type a yes in the chat if you can. Can you see me? Type a yes if you can. Okay. Here we go. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So
Right. Let's see how we do now. So that's the question, right? Why was it important to write the Energized?
Why was it important to write?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So so in researching the book, I came across some very dark statistical implications of particularly mental ill health in the workplace. In the UK, we have something called the Health and Safety Executive, and they did some research, and they found that the UK was productivity. They were losing millions of days of people's time because work was creating stressful situations for them that meant they were off work. And so it didn't just seem a bad thing for productivity, it was inhumane. And I looked at the rationale behind it, and the only thing I could see is that there were two things. One was that we've designed it this way, accidentally or on purpose. We have designed oppressive and overly challenging systems of work that cause people to become stressed about deadlines and performance. I don't know what's going on here.
I don't know, but here you are. Something's cutting out. I don't know if it's the network.
Right. Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh. I might try a new browser and just come back in again. Let me just try that.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll give Perry a second to just get everything in order, and then we'll come back to our conversation with Perry. Here we go.
New browser. Let's try again.
Okay, let's see.
All right, good. So I don't know if you heard any of that, so I'll probably have to repeat it. Yeah. So lots of time and lots of people's efforts were being lost. But I mean, that wasn't just the issue. It was just the purely inhumane sense that we find systems that
I think maybe the fact that I'm interfering with Perry's well-being day could be part of the problem. We are going to get this. This conversation is going to happen. It is going to work out. Don't worry about it. Just give us a few minutes. Here we go. We're going to get
trying
it.
again.
Try again.
I'm just going to keep holding on. Right. Okay. Let's go again. So with that much of a systemic failure, right? I thought what we was trying to create more centered, but actually any lack of productivity, if anything, it would correct the balance. It would help people be there more. It would help people have more balanced workloads and life. Me. So I came up with this concept in the book. I called it peak work. It's like we have no more to give. We are supposedly assisted by technology, but actually what it's doing is often oppressing us. We have real challenges in navigating a complex world where people are struggling to find novel solutions to problems, and not being given time and credit and support and development. It's just do. So the book needed to really try and redress the balance, and it needed people to go,
He's coming back, I promise. Please bear with us. I know technology is something that we rely heavily on, especially in this day and age, but I do know we are going to continue to have challenges. So just bear with us as we try to have this conversation. Still a great start to 2022. Let's stay positive. So this is the book that we are talking about, The Energized Workplace, Designing Organizations Where People Flourish, and why this is important. And maybe you guys can start chiming in the chat so that by the time Perry comes back, we'll be able to have this conversation and engage with you. But why do you think that organizations end up being so toxic? What makes people decide to put money over people? So I know a lot of people in organizations are always saying, you know, my organization doesn't care about the people, it only cares about profit. My organization doesn't care about well-being. It just wants us to work, and nothing more. So what are your thoughts on that?
do it. Right, okay.
Welcome back.
Oh no, this is frustrating to watch and it's frustrating to connect to. But let's
Our
hope
audience
it
are
continues to
understanding.
work
They're
okay.
understanding. They're still here.
Good of them. Anyway, so at the risk of repeating myself,
Lost you again, Perry. Let's see. One second, guys. We are going to get this. It's going to happen. All right, I'm going to give Perry a chance to try to get back in. The tribulations of working with technology, but we will get there. So as I was saying earlier, what are your thoughts on that? What makes a toxic workplace? And what are some of the things that we can do in order to help reduce, remove, shift mindsets in the workplace to remove workplace toxicity? And this is a topic that I've been talking on quite a bit over the last couple of weeks with different individuals. I'm going to let Perry back in. Let's see what happens. Hello.
try again. I'm lost for reasons why we're facing these kind of challenges. Is this working?
That's okay.
I don't think it is.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think you're frozen now on my.
I'm frozen?
Just about, but it's a little bit ropey.
I
I can hear you, but I can't see you moving on screen. So that's telling me something not quite right in this connection. Oh, hang on. Okay. Any good?
I am good.
Okay. Shall we give this a go and try again?
Let's try again.
Please.
We're not giving up. We're not giving up.
Entities, let's try. We're not, are we? Okay. So, too much of a system that caused people to be ill through work, mental ill health, lots of lost days and productivity, lots of feelings of people who were trying their best to make good, but the system was kind of conspiring against them. And so I just had to think that this is a designed or deliberate act and so therefore this book was aimed at trying to help us overcome that, both with individual strategies, but then also looking wider at the systems and trying to get a sense that what we've done is inadvertently created far too much pressure when actually what we needed is more liberation, and we needed more sense of how people are energized, right? So in the book, I got the chance to actually write about chakras.
Yes.
And the publishers were like, this is a business book. What are you writing about chakras for? And I said, because actually it's really important that we understand whether that's a true science or what, that actually we do have limits to our energy, and that actually we need to have some form of duty of care to make sure we understand our energy rhythm, circadian rhythm, our sleep patterns, what rest means, how we find ourselves in situations where we come to life or we suddenly feel like we are pushing a big boulder uphill, right? Some of this is nothing to do with intent. It is to do with whether we have the right balance in our energy. So I thought it was really important that people started to think, when am I energized? When do I come to life? What are the conditions that are around me that I'm either in a state of fear, in a state of uncertainty, lacking confidence, belief, and so on? Because all of them, they all have an impact on us. Our mental cognition, our psychological sense of safety and belonging. If they're not present, it's a really, really hard gig for us to fulfill what we're really capable of, our talent, our knowledge, our wisdom, our energy, excitement, and so on. So I thought, let's try and create something where we can tap into that so people can find their place, people can understand the rhythm of themselves and try and align that to work. And that was really at the essence of the book, self-care, but also a system that needs some serious rebooting. And it was an urge to design it with more energy in mind rather than just skill. Yeah, that was the essence of it. We got there.
Yes, we got there. I absolutely love this book, Perry, because I think it's a conversation that a lot of us are having now as HR, but also as C-suite, more so than ever, as to where do we place well-being and how do we remove workplace toxicity, and having open conversations about creating monsters in the workplace. And for a long time, I think HR got the stick that we were the drivers behind, poor promotions of leaders who weren't ready.
Yeah.
And just having all of these crazy people existing in the workplace. And this book kind of sets the tone for, well, actually, let's take a look at all of us, that we've all played a part in this. Let's take a step back and let's figure out how we can deal with that, right? Is that right?
You got it. You totally got it. I mean, in the book, I even called it a silent pandemic, right? And I wrote it before the actual pandemic. Because of that. It felt like it was creeping up on us. We kind of knew that there were pressures, and we knew that there were record numbers of people absent through mental ill health. We almost excused it as a modern phenomenon that we had identified it. Therefore, that's why there were so many people suffering from it. It's like, no, it wasn't because we identified it. People were already suffering from it, and we just put a name to it. And we absolutely could find causal trails between ineffective systems, poor relationships, toxic leadership. They just combined for people to feel so helpless. They were like, I've got no choice really but to exit out. And I had an instance in my career where I had a couple of moments where one was a kind of bullying incident, and one was just me architecting my own demise, right? But the intensity and the pressure, I felt so helpless. And that's where a lot of people are. They feel really helpless that the system is too big for them to change. But you can genuinely start to build strategies around you and then work with people like us in HR to kind of go, this is wrong. Help me get this in balance. And that's not a pathetically weak cop out. That's you
No.
saying, I've got self-worth. I need to demonstrate some self-care. I need your help.
Exactly.
So I think HR's unfortunately been a bit culpable in some respects with systems that are quite, let's just say, generic, and they don't take into account individual circumstances. And what I'm loving about the things I'm hearing from people like you and others is we've got this sharp individualistic focus on what's going on with you is unique, and what we need is a solution that we can co-create with you that's as unique as the challenges you're finding, because we can't just say there's the policy, like it or lump it, right? We are adapting right before our very eyes, and it's a strange thing for sometimes us to be that, how would I describe it, kind of dispersed in our thinking rather than
Yes.
converged, but
Mhm.
actually it's the right thing to do.
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more
Yeah,
on that, because I think that the more we have all of these different thoughts about what the workplace should actually look like and how we can create that, is the more we will eventually come together and be in agreement, but everyone can
yeah,
see all the different things that are working in the
yeah,
energized workplaces,
yeah.
right? So when
Totally
we
that,
make those
totally that.
separations,
And I'm
for
going to
us, it
plug
also makes sense. Mhm.
exactly
Sorry,
that. I'm going to plug your work, because what I like about your work lately is you're saying, I'm going to coach you, the HR people, to look after yourself. Because if you're not doing that, how on earth can you hold other people's interests in your hands and help them out if you're not looking after yourself? It really, really is that oxygen mask metaphor. So the work you're doing is really crucial, because you're a safety valve, a compression zone for people who are trying to do their best to look after the intensity of some failures that are occurring in the experience of work for their colleagues. So more power to you for that.
thank you so much, Perry. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. It feels good when when great people like you actually recognize my work. Feels good. But yeah, it
Supercharging.
needs to be
That's what
done.
you're doing. You're supercharging people.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
it definitely
nice.
needs to be done. And I want to talk a little bit about just, and not beating a dead horse, but when it comes to well-being, because I still look at so many reports, so many HR trends reports, whether it's McKinsey, Gallup, whoever, and I'm still seeing well-being somewhere at the bottom.
I
Why
know.
are organizations
Yeah.
not getting this, Perry?
So I think it's a competition, right? I think that businesses are faced with much more complex challenges than perhaps they ever were, right? Because let's take, for example, climate, right? It's huge. You've got to put that on the agenda. And they have to play a part in community in terms of social justice. So they've got to put that in there too. Then they've got to think about productivity and performance and shareholder value and market and competitors and products and customer demands. And they've got to put that in there too. And then they're kind of thinking, okay, what else do we do? Oh, we're in a war for talent. I mean, I hate that phrase, but there are great resignation implications. We've got to start thinking about how we hire and retain. And oh, hang on a minute. And then there's well-being. What do we do with that? And I think that's literally how the conversation goes. But if you
Uh-huh.
flip that, if you go, if we look after our people and care for them, actually all those other things trickle through as a result of it. That's genuinely my theory, is that if you have an organization built on human centered implications and impacts, you are by nature, I think, creating the right conditions for people to look after the climate, to do their part in communities, to help their colleagues feel a sense of belonging and retain and inclusion, and listen to them and respect differences. It feels like we've got it completely the wrong way around. If we started from,
Exactly.
we're here to do a service to the world, and in order to do that, we have to look after the people, and start from there, that's where it all comes.
Yeah.
So I think we've got the outcome and the mechanism confused. As simple as that. The
I
outcome
agree.
is a productive, positive organization. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
you need to look after people to start with, right? I mean, yeah.
Exactly. Like
So there we go.
yeah, like I feel like if people just realize if we treat our people right, they will take care of our business. And to my mind, it's not rocket science, but apparently to a lot of organizations, it is. You know, funny enough, I was in a conversation while listening to a webinar this morning. on the same topic of well-being in the workplace, but from a startup perspective. Because in the startup now, they're talking about, well, you have this hustle culture of like, you're now starting out the business, you're now learning how to manage people.
Yeah.
There are lots of differences and intricacies that come with the startup culture. Can you really prioritize well-being in a startup? And the conversation just kind of stemmed around, well, if we do it from the outset, we have nothing to worry about. Then people will do the work, right?
Exactly. Totally that.
And
Totally that, right?
they all,
So there's a
exactly
company.
that.
Yeah, there's a company in the US at the moment who are, through their CEO as a real voice, right, are saying this is how we've become successful. And all he talks about is culture and recognizing culture and growing and allowing the culture to become the thing that defines you. He talks about a 4-day working week, which we do at PTHR. So there's something about him saying we recognize the balance is wrong. So they're almost the opposite of hustle culture, Julie. They are saying we start from a point of care and creating the right environment for people to thrive. That's how they start, and then everything else does trickle through. So they're a super success story. And then the other one I really like is Dan Price at Gravity Payments, who put everybody on $70,000 US. He said, look, let's just make it real equitable, right? Wow. The commitment he gets from people, it's just phenomenal, because he's taken all of that crappy charade of value payment bonus stuff completely out of the way, right? So people are not computing that. They're computing, what can I do to keep this company thriving and look after the people here. It is as simple as that. Yet we complicate it with all these layers and rituals and belief systems that are still mechanized, they're still industrial, and they're not for the era that we're in right now.
Yeah.
So people say, well, that's okay for tech companies or for governments or knowledge workers. But you only have to look not far from you in the US at Bob Chapman's work at Barry Waymiller. I mean, they are legendary in the manufacturing world. People feel part of a family there, not in some kind of obsessive cult-like behavior. They look out for each other, they care for each other, and they back each other. It's as simple as that, man. And I don't think we see enough of that cultural smartness, let's say, in leaders. They try and create a culture of performance and hustle, like you say, thinking that's how you win. It's like that's how you exhaust people. That's all you get from that. Yeah, exactly.
I want to touch on some of the comments that are being made right now in the chat, Perry. Celia Collmore, thank you so much for joining us. Celia, this is a long one, Celia, but she says companies are in the business to make money. However, what solutions do they need to create that is holistic, inclusive, and progressive? Who are the leaders? What's important to them? And do they understand the importance and power of employee experience? Are the conversations happening? And are they executing realistic and practical ideas and solutions to reduce or eliminate feedback? Are they asking the employees who have some or most of the answers to issues they are facing? Yes.
Yeah.
What's your response?
Well, that's an epic comment, Celia. So thank you for that. Right, I'm going to start at the end, because what you're talking about, the asking and listening piece, that's the secret sauce, right? The solutions to customer problems, supplier relationships, product innovation, that lies with everybody. And the best examples I've seen are where the listening side of an organization is so attuned, people feel they have influence and can change the nature of products, services, working patterns, whatever it might be, right? Nucor Steel is the classic example, based in Seattle, where actually they go from one factory to another and learn from each other. They might be doing different things in steel forging, but they learn from each other. And that's how they innovate. That's how they get more steel per what yield and whatever. So that is absolutely right. I am going to challenge you on the opening question. Companies are in the business to make money. No, they're not. That's an outcome. They're in business to solve problems for customers. That's what they're in business to do. And they make money in order to do that better and bigger and whatever it might be. So it's an outcome. Money's an outcome. But if you're chasing money, that's where it goes wrong. You're not there to make money. You're there to do brilliant things that happen to make money. Boom.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Terry. I agree. Because I think that at the end of the day, when you think about an organization and its people, they drive everything. So if your people are on the ground, and a lot of times people know more about the business, the people on the ground know more about the business than the CEO. So if you take the time to talk to your people, that's why it frustrates me to no end when I ask HR people, how well do you know your people on the ground? How do you know like how your business makes money, how it loses money, who the competitors are, what is their competitive edge in terms of their talent, attraction, retention, understanding those things. And when I have HR people say to me, I'm too busy to get up from my desk and think about those things or to interact with my people to even get that information, makes me furious to no end.
And me.
Because if you did that.
And me.
You've been winning all day. I don't get it.
Right. So here's a simple practice that I used to do when I worked in a corporate environment, but I even do it as a consultant, not lately because you can't really do it, but physically sit with people. Don't sit in your office. Don't sit in the corner. Don't even have a desk if you can avoid it, right? And find yourself in the midst of the hullabaloo of what's going on in the workplace, because by osmosis and by sensing, you absolutely understand what matters to people, and you hear them talk about things. I can remember making a cup of coffee and the IT team were in there and they were saying, oh, it's appraisal time, and one of them went, shh, HR's in the room. I went, no, tell me, why don't you like appraisal time? Big form to fill in, whole year wrapped into one. I'm like, what? So you don't have any chats in between? No. And I kind of said, look, this is totally so. I knew there was a problem because people were really functionally going through the appraisal cycle. So I went to the director of IT and I said, I think you've got a problem here. He's like, what? I'm like, people are just paying lip service to appraisal. He said, no, they're not. They're having chats on a regular basis. I said, well, if they are, they're not recognizing it as part of performance management. You need to name it and make it known that that's part of feedback and growth and development and conversations. So we just gave it different names. We made people much more attuned and aware that that was part of the appraisal process, and we thinned out the form. Totally solved the problem.
Definitely.
Listen, be with your people. I'm with you.
Get on the ground, talk to your people. It is important. Lynette Taylor is making me laugh right now. She said that's why she thinks that leaders who don't listen should be fired.
Do you know what? Totally agree, Lynette. And there's a technology company in India who, if you had something where like your manager hadn't had a feedback conversation or didn't discuss your career development, you could raise a help desk ticket against them. And it was open for other people to see. Now, that was something where, if you want, it kind of totally changed the game, because no manager wanted to have their name on a help desk ticket for not looking after their people. So by peer pressure, they got into that situation and avoided them being fired. But I'm kind of with you, Lynette, because why are you there as a leader? You're there for the people who you work with. Simple as that, right? Setting the vision, holding the space, support, development, coaching. Yeah, it's all that stuff, right? And if you're not doing that, Lynette, I'm with you. Show them the door. But actually, there is an alternative, Julie, right? So I've worked with a client and we've had a really strong, deep thought about who needs to lead in what way, right? And so we recalibrated leadership and we created 2 tracks. We had enterprise leaders, and they were people who led teams of people. They were up for it, they were good at it, and they did products and solutions and research. But then we also had what we call practice leaders, which were the geeks and the specialists who didn't want a team. They just wanted to do specialist things. And we just created these 2 tracks, and you could hear the practice leaders going, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to do the people thing that I'm not good at. I can specialize on safeguarding or legal or whatever it is. And it totally worked. So if you can't fire them, realign them.
Realign them, exactly. I think that matters. I remember in the last organization I was in before I left corporate, we had a similar situation where we had this guy great at what he did, and we wanted to make him a leader. And he said, look, I don't want to lead. I love the work that I do. I'm happy to advise and support, but I don't want to have a team. I don't want to be held accountable for those kind of things. I just want to do my work. And the fact that he felt that he had the psychological safety to say it, and then at the end, the CEO look at him and go, look, I'm so glad we spoke up about that. If that's not what you want to do, we're fine to accommodate. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Totally that. Do you know what you did there, Julie? You just exemplified the energized workplace, because he didn't have the energy to lead a team, but he had the energy to be a specialist and add value. And that's exactly what should happen. We should follow the
Yes,
energy trail more, because he's
exactly.
skilled and competent, and he should be able to lead a team, but he hasn't got the energy for it. So
Yeah,
therefore, don't put him in that situation. Brilliant.
exactly.
Great
Exactly.
example.
I want to ask you, being
Yeah.
the HR expert that you are, I want you to give us your top 5 HR trends for 2022. What do you see
Ooh.
shifting, getting better? What do we need to stop
Yeah.
doing, start doing, and continue doing as HR? What are those top
Yeah.
trends for you?
Okay, so let me have a think about this. Right, so I've got 3 P's and 2
Uh-huh.
V's, right?
3
So the
P's,
3
2
P's
V's.
are and two V's. The first P is paradoxes.
Mhm.
We in HR have to become, and I think we've got the opportunity to do this, the most skillful at navigating and working with paradox. Now, let me just explain what I mean by that. Paradox doesn't mean polarity. It doesn't mean either or, it's and. So I'll give you an example that you'll know. Let's be agile and stable. Let's
Mm.
be compliant and creative. Let's be human and efficient. Do you know what I mean? This is not
Yes.
polarity. This is
No.
and, right? So
Yes.
I think we can recast a lot of what we do in HR and say it isn't either or, it's and we create something that services, I think, the world better.
Yes.
So that's the first one, paradoxes, right? Now, linked to that, my second one is personalization.
Mm.
And it's really difficult, this one, because we've been used to trying to create these bottom line generic policies that appeal to everyone, and we can't do that anymore. I think we have to create principles that everybody can go, I get that. And then we allow personalization on top of those principles. Leave policies, flexible working, promotion, development schemes, whatever it might be, right? So I think we've got to get to an era where people go, I can see me, my path, what matters to me is taken into account with the things that HR offers for me. So we don't just have generic things, we have baseline stuff and lots of personalization. Now that you may think, oh my goodness, how can we cope with that? We just have to co-create it with people. We go, here's the must-haves and the don't breach, violate. And then the rest of it is tell us what works for you and we'll make it happen. So I think, yeah, totally. Because I think people go, I really matter because look, I've got a personalized experience at work here. We get it in tech, we get it in consumer world, we get it in hospitality. Let's get it in work. So I think that's my second one.
Uh-huh.
My third one then is quite predictable, but it's performance. Now, what I mean by performance is I think we've got to create a stronger causal link between what HR does and performance of people in the business. Because I don't think we do that strongly enough now.
No.
Value isn't just financial, it's human, it's social, it's intellectual, it's material, it's natural. We can say it ain't just numbers, and here's the causal trail between what we do that has value that impacts on performance, because I think that'll help us be more convincing in the things we want to do around attraction, retention, development, so on. So those are my 3 P's. And then here's my 2 V's. My 2 V's are, the first one is versatility. That talks to the things you talk a lot about, agility. How versatile are we? How adaptive are we? And we've not been known for that too much in the past because we've tried to create such a straight line between everything. And I think we have to show that we can be versatile. We can adapt. And we've done it. We did it through COVID. We were super versatile in COVID. We were safe, but we kept an eye on performance, all that. And then the fifth and final one, it links to performance, but it's about value. We need to absolutely understand where we add value, how we add value, and demonstrate it and show it and report on it, because we're not that good at that. So it's linked to performance, but it's something we need to get better at understanding our value chain and our value implications, and we talk them more into existence and we believe them more and we strengthen them. So paradoxes, personalization, performance, versatility, and value. Those are my 5 things.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing those. I love each and every single one of these. And I could see why this will be your top 5 for HR trends for 2022. I want to say, what are some of the ways that you and your team at PTHR are applying these 3 Ps and 2 Vs right now?
Very nice, actually. So let's just say our 4-day operating week is a paradox, because you'd think we're not here as much, but we had a 100% increase in work. How did we do that? We don't work longer days. We have simply become brutal at inefficient processes, at habits and rituals. And so we used our performance agenda to help us with paradoxes of less time on the clock, but more value to create. So it does kind of link to the value piece. And the way we've done that, Judy, is we've personalized everybody's working experience. So they pick their hours, they choose their projects. Seriously, they do. Nobody gets invited to join a project. People step in and say, I want to work on that. And we work out how to make it happen, whatever the hours, whatever the routines, whatever the care and responsibilities. So people feel they've got choice. And as a result of that choice, they're versatile. And we're versatile. So rarely, if ever, have we ever said, I don't think we have ever said, can you do that instead? We've never done that. We've always said, what do you want to choose to do? And people work it out themselves, right? So if there's too many people want to work on one project, a few people say, I'll step back, I'll do the other one. It's like, I don't even have to, do you know what I mean?
Worry about it,
So we exactly do that. And the reason
Perry can sound kind of utopian, right? I think for our listeners, they may think, oh my gosh, I want to work first of all, I want to work for Perry. How do we make that happen?
Thank you.
Okay. So how do I apply that in my organization? Like how do I within my team?
So I'm making it sound like a Disney movie, and of course there are bumps in the carpet and it is difficult. However, it comes back to a few principles and how we construct the things that make it work, right? So the first principle, and it completely makes it happen, is, and I kind of declared it, but that's the only thing I'm ever going to declare, we will be self-managed. That's it. We'll be self-managed. I am not in charge. I am not pointing. I am not allocating. I am not getting into that directive thing. People don't expect me to, and I don't want to. And the way we fill that uncertainty and lack of clarity and all that is that we collectively do it, right? We collectively agree. How do we make it work? Who steps in and does what? So we don't lead people, we lead processes and we lead systems. And that's how we have created this. So if people are saying, how can I replicate that? Start focusing on fixing the system, not fixing people, and getting everybody to co-create it. So everybody goes, I totally get this. And where it doesn't work, we go, right, stop. Why doesn't that work? What can we do to make it work? We're learning all the time, Judy, but we're doing it together. So there's no put it up to me and I decide. That doesn't happen. No. So I think that's how we do it. And we have one key secret weapon in this, is that we all work to what we call a team agreement. We say what matters and how do we hold that so that we're all accountable to it. And if somebody has breached the team agreement, we don't go, you're naughty, and have a chat. We just point to the team agreement and say, we agreed this. Now tell me what's going on. Literally, that's it. We self-regulate. Yeah.
The candor is real.
Yeah. It's just really open stuff. Yeah. Totally right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that people may struggle with in their teams if they are not used to that. So I think, like you said, you got to change the process, not the people. Yeah. And then when people start to become more open, like sometimes the team may go, hold on a minute, because I get that a lot when I'm coaching HR professionals who are now looking to become more agile, and they're looking to, remove that responsibility. And a lot of times when they come back and they go, but my team is saying, hold on a minute, who is this person? What have you done with Sharon or, John?
Exactly.
I don't know this person, but it is possible. One thing at a time, and you can get there.
Exactly that. So, Julie, I'm telling you now that 2 years ago, we were way more messy than we are now. and it wasn't good. It wasn't fun. It was tough yards. It was, yeah, but we've learned from it, and we've been very open about it. And again, we didn't point the finger at anybody. We just went, what's going on, and we shaped systems and processes. So it's taken us 2 years now. I'm guessing that people think I haven't got 2 years to wait. You can accelerate it, because I think if you are building from a quite solid team foundation anyway, we weren't that solid. We were new and had to form into that. You can go, what works and what don't we need to touch, and then what are the things that we can enhance and so on. And you just go there gently, and you build on what you're good at, and you remind yourself of strength, and you remind yourselves of good feedback, and you remind yourselves you're in it together, you know, and you build from that. So I would suggest that to some people, this turnaround could happen in as short a space as, like, you know, a quarter. You could kind of start and really recalibrate it within a quarter, because it gets seductive, and it just grows into much more replenishing, healthy systems. So, I mean, we just don't fall out. We don't have those kind of disagreements. People missed a piece of work recently on a proposal, right? And everybody went, oh, I'm really sorry. It's like, don't worry about it. Let's learn from it. Like, it was not meant to be. Clearly, we didn't, you know, it's just not, there's no point in being like that.
Exactly. That's refreshing. And I think that is missing a lot from HR. Like, I shared a post earlier this week where I said someone in one of the HR communities that I'm in sent out a message saying, look, I think I need people to pray for me because I made a mistake with the payroll. She's like, I made a mistake with the payroll. Someone pray for me. And I was like, in my mind, the Julie that I am now is a completely different Julie to maybe 6-7 years ago, where I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can share space with you. But now I'm like, everyone makes mistakes. I've made payroll mistakes before.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I know the employee is going to feel inconvenienced or frustrated, but just own your mistake. Own your mistake. Fess it up.
Yeah.
Don't hide it. Someone will find it eventually. Just fess it up. Deal with it head on, and just, you know, be brave about it. And if you need some support to kind of guide you through that, not a problem. And I love that. And she came back and she said, thank you.
Yeah.
But, you know, I love that, being able to say, it's not the end of the world. But I remember many times in my HR career where you made a mistake, it was the end of the world. You were on a pitch path. You could blink, you know?
Totally.
And that kind of brings me to the future of HR. So we talked about trends for 2022. Whoa. But Perry, I know if you're just like me, and you're probably, as we think future, and we always think maybe 5-10 years ahead in the HR space. Yeah. What does the evolution of HR look like for you?
Yeah. So lately, I've become more taxed by this, I think, because of the emergence from a pandemic. And let's just say it ain't over yet, but we're kind of seeing the signs, right? So you kind of think, what next? And I think there are two utterly crucial things that we need to become known for that will shape our future. And our future will become actually bigger than it is now, not smaller. So that's where I'm thinking there's good news. The first one is intelligence. And by that, I don't just mean individual intelligence. I mean intelligence about people and systems and performance and all those factors. And so what I'm predicting is that the marketing function and the communication function and the people, org design, change function, HR, they'll all come together in a people and performance intelligence function. So you'll have operations with product and supply chain and all that stuff, right? And then you'll have this people and performance intelligence function combining HR, marketing, and comms, because it's all about people outside as customers, inside as colleagues, right? So I think we'll have even more clout when we're joined in with that function. That might sound quite controversial that we merge with marketing, but I think marketing and us, we're kind of trying to do the same thing. Work people out, get the best from them, as in customers who buy and colleagues who perform. So like, let's pull the resource, man. We're going to be using more AI and intelligence in a data sense, right? So that's the first thing I think will happen. But even within that, I think what we will become is like people scientists. We'll know about behaviors and more about cognitive power and processing. We'll know a bit more about the predictable bits of human psyche and the unpredictable bits of human psyche, and we'll know how to handle both forces. So we'll become counselors and psychologists and all that kind of stuff inside, because people will still be messy in the future. They're not tidy packages, right? So we'll have all the intelligence in the world that helps us with systems and everything else, but also duty of care, unpredictability, predictability. I think so. Will be intelligence and science, and that might sound a little bit too academic for people, but believe me, it's nothing without applying it with compassion and care.
Yes, exactly. And you know, it's so funny when you talk about people science. I get excited because I recently entered a partnership with Culture Amp, and they have people scientists on staff, and they're
Good people.
Yes, I'm talking to them, talking about how they put that data together, what the insights that they're able to engage in and produce for organizations. I am 100% excited, fascinated with all of that.
Yeah.
When you talk about marketing and HR coming together and communications coming together, I totally agree with that. One of my friends, Ron Johnson, he has a branding equation, which is called BRANDING, branding. So it's branding and HR coming together. And he talks a lot about marketing and HR should be working together to help
totally.
create great employer brands. And how do we do that?
Totally.
The other piece that I see coming into that is also the DEI aspect. A lot of times when we focus on DEI, we focus on race, culture, sexuality, gender.
Totally.
But it's so much more, and I want people to understand that from a neurodiverse perspective and the psychology of people, because 100%, if we get those things right, we'll become great brands.
Totally.
But we'll be creating awesome experiences for everyone. And then we'll be doing what Brené Brown wants us to do, right? Which is create safe places for everyone to work.
Completely that. So we will become social anthropologists, and it will all be about, remote work and in-office work and factory work, whatever it is we're doing in 5, 10, 20 years. And it will be understanding the dynamics, and it will be about almost like having really hot in the moment type decisions being made about how people can thrive and develop and solve problems and so on. So I often say this as a kind of, not meant glibly, but I think we've got to get rid of boards and create mission control, because I think we need to invoke senior people to go, here's a problem, let's fix it. And we orchestrate a lot of that. So we don't have these habitual quarterly, weekly, whatever it is, forget it. Just like all on demand. When we need it, get you together. Here's a decision. Here's the facts. What do we do? Bang, let's go make it happen. So I think we're going to be involved in some pretty hot rhythms in the future too.
Yes, I think the future of HR is very bright and very exciting.
Me too.
All we have to do is plug into it, Last thoughts.
Yeah.
What's next?
I think so too.
Terry? Sorry, go on.
What's next for me? Oh, nice question. So a bit like you, I have some ambitions for the profession, like writ large. So I don't just want to do things that perhaps help my client base and so on. I want to do stuff that ripples out to the whole profession. So somebody actually said to me in a little DM exchange, she wishes she got paid to coach new people into HR to sort of help them learn and not get corrupted by the machine. I think that's going to become a thing, right? Because I think you and me, we want to do that. And I do loads of mentoring and stuff like that. Anyway, so more of that. I'm going to do more of that. And as a result of it, we've got a product coming out. We're calling it the HR Career Accelerator.
Oh, are you following
because we want to get people fast tracked.
I just released my
I'm still there. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, I just released my HR program, which is the Empowered HR Group Accelerator program. Yep. On that same thing.
Phenomenal. We're on the same lines.
We're on the same.
We are pincer movement the world. This is good.
Right. Everything together.
It's good, man. I'm liking it. Now the other thing I'm determined to do is finally get HR teams to climb on top of the work stack, because I think we're just bulging. We've got too much to do. We've got too much demand. And I see so many brilliant projects like just put aside because they're still fighting the fires and so on. So I want to help people to create systems that help them get on top of the work stack and go, right, we've done the stuff we need to do that's mandatory and compliant. Now let's do the exciting stuff and the pioneering stuff and the groundbreaking stuff to get people in the business to go, wow, look at what HR can do. And then they say, let's do more of that HR. What can we do to automate your processes and help you and bring more capability and capacity to the game? Because I don't think we've even shown what we're really capable of yet, because we're just too busy. And so I want to get us off that trail, man, and be real strategists and creative thinkers and conveners. So one of my things over the next couple of years is do that. Create the capacity, liberate the thinking, and let's push on. That's what I really want to see. That's next for me anyway.
Nice. I love it. In HR, we have a lot of what they call in the tech world technical debt. We have a lot of product debt.
Oh yeah.
That stays in the backlog. We just don't ever get to it. And I love the fact that
totally that.
Work on that.
Brilliant phrase. Yeah, we're like in the red all the time. Let's get over that. Let's put it in the black. Definitely.
Exactly. Any final comments, words of advice to our audience today on how we re-energize?
Final comments.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of things really. I think, you're talking to this and we're trying to make sure that people absolutely do self-care. Genuinely look after yourself, genuinely invest in yourself, genuinely have self-worth and appreciate who you are and what you do. So look after yourself first. That's it. Get yourself feeling confident, comfortable, even agitated about things you want to do, but don't beat yourself up on it. Just act as a stimulus to push you on, right? So that's the first thing I'll say. And then I think the next thing is, we are in such a changing system of work. I think get the systems thinking kind of mind whirring and know about OD and design thinking and start thinking, what systems can I change for me? What systems can I change for my team? And what systems can I change around me? And go do that, because that's going to start bringing some good things back and it will spur you on. So look after yourself and tweak those systems.
Yes. Definitely. Well said. Thank you so much for kicking off my monthly live discussions, Perry. It's so funny. Do you know how funny this is? Because you were the first guest on my podcast.
Wow.
What an honor. You were my first guest on my podcast almost 3 years ago. And today you are the first guest on my monthly live. Look at that.
I feel so honored and privileged. I mean, we go back some time and, LinkedIn and your study program, and then we met in CIPD conference and stuff.
Yes.
And it's been really nice, Julie, to see how you found out who you are in this game and what you want to do in this game. And you've just gone for it, man. So I feel the privilege of being not only the first guest and part of this, but just knowing you, man, and just being in your vibe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We have reached the end. We survived. Technical difficulties aside, we survived our first episode of HR Sound Off Live. I want to thank everyone who joined us today for this show. And of the audience, everyone in the comments is saying how much they loved your thoughts and everything that you shared today. I'm sure that there were a lot of key takeaways for our audience today. Remember, this is a monthly live show right here on LinkedIn. So who is my guest next month? Oh, wow. I'm excited to have with me next month Patty McCord, who is the former head of HR for Netflix. And we're going to have a great conversation with her about her thoughts on HR and the future of HR as well. Remember, you can pick up the HR Sound Off podcast show on every podcast platform, Spotify, Google Podcast. We are now on Amazon Music and soon to be on Pandora. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're on Apple Music. You can find us everywhere. We've been around for a while. So be sure to pick up our weekly episodes on those podcast platforms. But you can find me here once a month on LinkedIn, having great conversations with great people in HR. So we'll look forward to seeing you on our next show. Bye, everyone.